Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm presenting the digital research project I realized for Digital Cultures and Communication research class at the Università degli Studi di Milano from January to March 2025. The project deals with one of the main and latest discourses around digital media, which is digital disconnection. Digital disconnection is defined as the deliberate reduction or cessation of digital media use to enhance well-being and mitigate the negative impacts of constant connectivity. One of the concepts related to discourses around digital disconnection is FOMO, the fear of missing out. FOMO is defined as the anxiety or worry that one is missing out on something important or enjoyable, usually in terms of social events, experiences, or opportunities, especially when seeing others participate in those things. FOMO can be really enhanced by the logics of social media, where content is often ephemeral, so short-lived and transient, and it's also argued that the ephemerality of social media content can be prompted by the same affordances of social media platforms. But what I focused on in my research is a concept and also a social media trend emerged in opposition to FOMO. This is JOMO, the joy of missing out. JOMO is defined as the pleasure derived from living in a quiet or independent way without feeling anxious that one is missing out on exciting or interesting events that may be happening elsewhere. As said, JOMO is frequently presented in opposition with FOMO. Then we could note that JOMO is an acronym, so it's part of that abbreviated and shortened language, which is typical of social media and is frequently associated with hashtags. And finally, JOMO can be studied as a digital cultural imaginary. Before getting into my research, it's worth noting that other scholars have already investigated digital disconnection. Among these, there's Anna Jorge that in 2019 analyzed the discourses shared by Instagram users to describe periods of suspension of Instagram use. Jorge found that a common discourse presented by users asserted the self-regulation of the use of social media as a social norm, where social media users are responsible for their well-being. Second, a prevalent theme is the activism performed by users on the platform to convert others towards a healthier relation with social media. And finally, the analysis discourses also revealed how digital disconnection is presented as a lifestyle for marketing purposes. So now we can get into my very research, starting from the research question. Which are the main themes and discourses emerging around the JOMO trend on Instagram? I chose Instagram as the platform for my research because of the nature of this platform. In particular, I argue that against the fun atmosphere mediated on TikTok as defined by Shellewald and against the traditional social network sites like Facebook, Instagram is something in between where both the entertainment dimension and the social relations dimension exist. And also on Instagram, you can produce informational content. In particular, and here I'm getting into the affordances, Instagram posts are like stable objects, which can also make use of other technical features of the platform, like the carousel format, the possibility to put text in the image, the possibility to write a caption with hashtags in it, are suitable objects to produce discourses and to report practices around a trend like the JOMO one. I collected my data through the IG hashtags exporter, using hashtags as an entry point in a logic of following the medium. I employed a snowballing technique to get my posts. In fact, I started from 3 hashtags, which are JOMO, Joy of Missing Out, and the Joy of Missing Out, and then I obtained a total of 14 hashtags through which I downloaded more than 1,000 posts. Then, after an exploratory research of my dataset, I operated 2 kinds of sampling. First, I sampled by hashtags, selecting all the posts with at least one among these 5 hashtags. The first 3 because this is the very core of my research, and the 2 highlighted in blue to eventually grasp the existence of a juxtaposition between JOMO and FOMO in the discourses. Then I also sampled by engagement, selecting only the posts with more than 75 likes. And I sampled by engagement for 2 reasons. The first is that my post didn't have a great number of likes in general, so I wanted to select the relatively relevant ones in terms of engagement. and also because having a small to medium set of data was quite okay for the kind of analysis I wanted to perform, and we will get into this now. Moving in fact to the analytical part of my project, I employed an ethnographic content analysis, analyzing both the images and the caption of my posts, so both the visual, paratextual, and textual content. I did not analyze hashtags in the sense that I did not look for hashtags patterns, but I employed hashtags to help me frame my posts and to put them into the different categories I created. Regarding categories themselves, I employed 10 of them. 6 were identified before starting the analysis. These are 2 open categories, topic and type of content, whose values were defined throughout the analysis, employing in this way an open coding inductive analysis. And then we have 4 closed categories, and also the 4 categories identified and defined in the making are closed categories as well. I know I employed a lot of yes or no categories, which in themselves are not really informative, but the idea was to connect topic and type of content with those closed categories that refer to the existence or absence of some elements and technical features of Instagram posts. The actual analysis was conducted on 56 posts because among the selected 79, 13 of them were misleading in the sense that the JOMO hashtag was used as an acronym referring to other things. Among the main topics identified, we have health, well-being, and self-care improvement as issues related to digital disconnection. Then we have education, where educational meetings discussing JOMO are announced. We have alcohol, where JOMO is the joy of missing out alcohol. We have nature, when JOMO is associated with experience in nature. We have theory, when some theoretical insights about JOMO are provided, and relax, where JOMO is associated with relaxing experiences, and other as a residual category. Regarding the type of content, which are also the grammars of interaction and the uses of the posts, we have an informational one where JOMO is presented in a neutral way. We have a persuasive one when users try to convert others towards JOMO practices. We have an evocative one. It's usually a natural content presented in suggestive ways, and a commercial one when the JOMO narrative, the JOMO discourses and disconnection messages are exploited for commercial purposes. Some first results highlight that the JOMO-FOMO juxtaposition is quite frequent in the discourses around JOMO on Instagram, and that visual content is frequently employed to describe personal experiences and related practices associated with JOMO. Moving a step forward, I employed a second level interpretive ethnographic content analysis through which I identify 6 thematic patterns constructed around the JOMO trend and emerging at the intersection of the platform grammars and vernaculars. These patterns were constructed by different combination of the previously employed categories, and the first one is guidelines posts, where some theoretical insights about JOMO and FOMO are provided through the paratextual content of Instagram posts. Then we have personal practical pattern, where the grammar is persuasive, practices and are suggested, and personal experiences reported, and this pattern is supported by visual content. The third pattern is a natural evocative one, while the fourth is defined as natural commercial because the natural content is exploited for marketing products and services. Then we have alcohol campaign posts, where users address the benefits of getting out of alcohol addiction, usually reporting personal experiences. The latter pattern is announcing education, where educational meetings are presented and announced on Instagram. Here you can see the distribution of the different thematic patterns, and as you can note, many posts were included within a hybrid residual pattern. This is linked to the choice I made to have really strict criteria for each post to be included within a given thematic pattern, so many categories employed to define patterns themselves. Of course, This led to have many posts within the hybrid residual pattern, but it was a way to have more meaningful patterns. Moving to the findings and considerations emerged from my research, a first one is that Instagram's technical features and affordances seem to really fit the production of content around the JOMO trend, with in particular guidelines posts which exploit the carousel format, the text in the image, and the caption features of Instagram posts, and personal practical posts which employ visual content very frequently. Here there's a paradox too, because the same platform's affordances which prompt the ephemerality of content on Instagram are also exploited to promote a movement that tries to contrast the harmful effects of constant digital connectivity and in particular of FOMO. Moreover, I tried to understand which kind of social formation could arise around the JOMO trend, and I argued that partly JOMO users could constitute an imitation public because they employ similar templates and aesthetics in posts. They can also be partly an affective public, which arises around the hashtag JOMO, and because they frequently report their personal experience and the emotions associated with those experiences. So I argue that JOMO users create a kind of social formation which arises at the intersection of imitation and affective publics. And as you can see here, in fact, the same affective practices can be replicated both in their content and in the way they are presented, leading in this way to the convergence of imitation and affective practices. Providing some further considerations, we can highlight that digital healthism as a discourse of self-regulating digital consumption for personal health and well-being is a prevalent discourse around digital disconnection on Instagram. Also, the individual agency and the personal responsibility in performing a healthier relation with social media is confirmed in my research, suggesting once again a neoliberal rhetoric where disconnection from the social media platform is part of people's self-control in their relationship with digital media. Finally, the commodification of this connection found by Jorge is confirmed in my research with the natural commercial posts which exploit the JOMO trend and also natural content to market products and services. Finally, some limitations of my research are that the categorization of posts, of course, leaves out some possible hybridizations, that the methods of analysis have excluded those who effectively disconnected from social media, and that I did not analyze Instagram stories and comments, and in particular, comments could have been useful to grasp the public or community dimension we have analyzed towards the end. That's all. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked the video.